All right, everybody, welcome to Clear Vision Wednesday. I am Claudia Mühlenweg. I am a holistic vision improvement teacher based on the Bates method, and I'm the creator of the Natural Clear Vision method. And if you find this interesting, if you find natural vision improvement interesting, then please follow me. Sorry, my last class is asking me to save a password. Then follow my channel. We have amazing speakers on every week. Sometimes it's just me. I'm also an amazing speaker, I think. And we have cool guests on. Think about when it comes to your eyesight. So I always talk about how the eye vision is more brain than eye related, eyeball related, but it's related to really everything. So anyway, so subscribe to this channel and maybe recommend it to other people, and drop me a note in the comments below. So right now this is live and I have prepared a little, I'm looking over to my other screen. I have a slideshow prepared for this topic. And our topic today is vision walks, like I like to call them. I actually used to lead them in person in my hometown in Hamburg. In the German Vision Teacher Association, we have October is the month of seeing. And we used to organize, that was all before COVID, these vision walks where you could, we would walk in nature and I would guide you. And I'm actually going to bring those back. But in the meantime, we can do a little virtual vision walk here. So let me bring up my slides. And we just have to do the screen share stuff. 1 second. Here we go. All right, so you should see my slides. Oops, there's always the Zoom stuff in the way. Okay, here we go. So I will play them, and hopefully you can see my slides. All right. So vision walk, how to improve your eyesight with a walk in nature, walk or hike or run, whatever you want to, whatever you do out in nature. Before we get going, I always want to make sure that you understand that this is not medical advice. What I'm doing here is not, replacing a visit with your eye doctor. This is really, really important so that you don't, make your own decisions. This is for educational purposes only and based on my experience and my research. So before we go on that walk, right? The question is always that I get a lot, should I wear my glasses or not? So obviously, this really depends. Are you farsighted? Are you nearsighted? Do you have fusion problems? Here is my basic advice. And I recorded a little video. There's no sound on it. But basically what I recommend is to take your glasses off. You can stick them on your head if you want them for safety purposes. If you feel like, hey, I just don't trust my vision. Or if you have a weaker pair of glasses, could be really helpful. If you're very, very nearsighted and you don't feel safe, then wearing an older, weaker pair. Or another great alternative is to wear pinhole glasses. Pinhole glasses kind of magically sharpen up things. They can also be a great way if you are very light sensitive and you're working on reducing your light sensitivity. So that's a great option too. So pinhole glasses are another way that I much prefer over you wearing your normal strength glasses. So naked eye is top. If that doesn't feel good, then use pinhole glasses would be my second recommendation. And third option, bring your glasses if you don't feel safe without them. So that's number one. Let's talk about that. And then the next thing I always get asked, what about sunglasses? Now, if you follow me or if you know anything about vision improvement, you know that we do not recommend sunglasses because we have built-in sunglasses called pupils. They get very small in bright light. They open up in dark light. However, I always say if you take certain drugs, if you have certain eye diseases, if you are in extreme conditions like in snow in the bright sunlight, sunglasses are definitely a safe and good choice. But for the majority of us that have healthy eyes, that don't have any macular degeneration or any other severe vision problems, I do not recommend, especially these dark sunglasses, right? These very dark, these are like some cheap plastic Elvis glasses because I don't actually own sunglasses anymore. But you get my point. If you do need to do something, my recommendation is to wear a cap or a hat. Most cases that works. Or if that still doesn't feel good to you, you can also wear some blue blocking glasses or again, the pinhole glasses in addition to having a hat on. That should in most cases take care of any strain that you have because you're still light sensitive. But reducing a light sensitivity is actually key to improving your refractive error, your nearsightedness, your farsightedness, your astigmatism. So eventually you want to be able to, get out of these devices. But for now, we don't want you to strain and squint or, strain your eyes or hurt your eyes because it's too bright. So trust your own instincts, but I do not recommend dark goggles because they also make you miss out on a lot of things. They lead to higher risk of falls because you might not see that root, that tree root on the ground or something. All right. So let's begin with I actually have 11 tips for you. You can use on your next walk. Number one is what I call color of the day. And that's just a way to stay present, be in the present moment, not get distracted. You can use, obviously on a nature walk is more interesting than on a drive with a car. You can say, I want to look for red, or maybe I want to look for specific flowers, or maybe I want to look for specific birds or trees, or, you can even look for food to forage for, right? When I go to Hamburg and late summer, the boysenberries are ripe and you can search for berries or, the good old days. So find something that you want to kind of pay attention to as you go about your day. It could be all flowers, it could be pink flowers, whatever it is. Color is an easy one because even if your vision is blurry, you can still see colors, right? So don't get too much into, I have to find berries, but then you need your glasses to see them. So then in that case, just picking a color of a, flower that you like is really helpful to start being in the present and also focusing on what you can see instead of like, oh, things are blurry, I cannot see them clearly. All right. And then my second practice or tip is use all your senses, right? Oftentimes we let our vision decide, is an object hard or cool or soft or warm or rough or smooth? Instead of doing that, like, why don't you let your sense of smell those flowers? Because this is often surprising. You might think, oh, this flower smells very intense, and then it has no smell. And other ones where you like, oh, that probably doesn't have an intense smell, smells amazing. So letting your other senses, touch is a great sense as well. Touch the bark, touch the rocks, like really like kids, right? Children always do that. And maybe if you taste, if you know this is a berry that is edible, please don't poison yourself, but maybe taste some things that are edible and see how that different than what your eyes thought that tasted or smelled or felt like. Here's a little video. This is called Springkraut in German, and the video is a little blurry, but oh my God, I tried so hard to make a video. And if you know what that is, it's these little seed pockets and you touch them and then they catapult open. So here I have a video here that is, and do you see? Oh my God, this was one of my funnest things in childhood. And unfortunately, the film didn't focus on the actual seeds. But stuff like that, right, that we used to do as kids, like touch these things, see how it feels like. And yeah, Springkraut is just a fun way to touch things and see, sometimes your eyes are like, oh, that one will explode. And then that one doesn't, you touch it, nothing happens. And that other one that doesn't actually look right, you touch it and it explodes and the seeds are spreading out. Or, this is one of my favorites, to touch trees. Sometimes you're surprised that it's cooler or warmer or softer than it actually, this one was really soft, this tree, and it looked really rough to me when my eyes looked at it. All right, number 3, we call this edging or sketching. And if you are from the Janet Goodrich lineage, you might call this nose pencil. But the idea is, especially if you're nearsighted and things are blurry, instead of focusing that you can't see that tree clearly, notice the edges, right, where the tree and the sky meet. And you can outline those edges. First of all, that prevents staring, because you might have a tendency to try to see that whole tree clear at once, which doesn't work for the eye anatomy. Our eye anatomy has only very small focal points. So this has really helped me. This was one of the practices that helped me the most when I was first starting to improve my vision, is moving my attention around. And it doesn't have to be perfect. So think like, it doesn't have to be this perfect, like my little outline here, but you're moving your head and your eyes together. So you're not just moving your eyes, holding your head still, as if you had, and that's what Janet Goodrich was teaching, as if you have a pencil attached to your nose, and now you are outlining this object. So I want you to do this in a playful way. Maybe you outline half the tree, not the whole thing. So don't get too robotic or, perfectionistic about it. It's about moving your attention around the edges and noticing as you're doing that things might clear up. So the mistake is to try to see the whole tree at once clearly. Obviously we see the whole tree, but instead of that, moving your attention, maybe look at the trunk, like surround the trunk. So that's called edging or sketching. Different teachers call it different things, but that's a really helpful way to get attention. focus on what you see best, also moving your eyes, and really getting out of that idea everything has to be clear at all times, which your glasses might suggest to you when our eyes cannot see everything clearly at once. It's just simply impossible. And that leading into that, the next one is shifting. So shifting, instead of edging, is more like a smooth line where you outline something. The shifting is more, you're literally jumping like a bee. When you look at bees, right, they jump, they're landing on a flower, they're kind of moving around in that flower, and then they fly away to the next one, right? So it's that idea of shifting your attention. And that means, again, moving head and eyes together, but moving your attention like a bumblebee, like flying from flower, or like a butterfly, right? Flying here, landing here, or birds do that too, right? So this is more like, where is your curiosity taking you? You're not making this a static, like a practice where you're like, okay, I have to look only at flowers. Move your attention like a butterfly or bee, and like just kind of touch on that object, look at it, blink and breathe and move on, but make it in a fun way, because your brain is driven by curiosity and interest. So don't do flowers if flowers are really boring to you. Maybe you're more interested in shifting like in a tree and seeing if there's any birds in there or whatever. So make it fun. This is what interests you. What maybe you want to shift, there's rocks in a river, and you, as if you're skipping stone, you're skipping from rock to rock. Whatever it is, you can pick anything that you like for shifting. And so before we go on to the next one, this is what I was talking about, the eye anatomy. So we only have perfectly clear vision in the fovea. And while there is only 1% of your retinal space, 50% of our brain processing goes into that clearest spot, the central vision. It doesn't mean that you don't see the rest. So when you look at that tree that we looked at earlier, in the fovea, you can only see one leaf best or clearly. Yes, you see the whole tree, but the rest of the tree doesn't look as clear as that leaf that you're paying attention to. So here's another image of that. So think about center of vision is where we see best, the fovea. Then we see better in the near periphery, then the mid periphery, the far periphery. So the further away an object is from our near periphery or center of vision, the less well we see it, no matter if you have eagle eye vision or glasses. This is just purely eye anatomy. And that's why we want to shift our attention and really notice that the spot that we're looking at, we see that better. Like, let's say a flower, a field of, if you go back here, all these sunflowers, notice that even if you look at one of the petals on that sunflower, that you see that petal better than the petal on the bottom edge of the sunflower, for instance, okay? So obviously we just touched on peripheral vision. So central vision is where you move your attention, the edging, the shifting. Now, the other thing that we want to improve that a lot of people are not good at, so to speak, or have really limited, is peripheral vision. Especially when you wear glasses, you might have kind of tunnel vision where you don't really pay attention to the edges. So one way, I've done whole hikes like this, where you stick a Post-it. I usually need a little bit of a additional tape because my forehead is, too greasy, and also the Post-it is not adhering the whole length on the short side. But basically blocking your central vision, you can do it narrow, you can do it wider, you leave it open at the bottom. But the key thing is here that you do not look down. You want to expand your peripheral vision on the sides and at the bottom. And if you have, there's a tool called the Clarity Eyesight Trainer from Overbound Athletics. My team can give me a link later. We can put it in the YouTube chat. But they come with 3 different shields in the center. So this is the most narrow one. Then there's a wider one. But this one even gives you peripheral vision above, on the sides, and obviously down. And as you can see in this picture, I'm looking into the black shield. I'm not looking down. The whole point of improving your peripheral vision is kind of looking at a center spot. You can also do it without a shield, where you just, let's focus on the path ahead. And you see that there's rocks coming up or roots of trees, but you know that your peripheral vision, you see them in your peripheral vision. So obviously stay safe, don't trip over things. But a lot of times our peripheral vision is so poor these days because we constantly ignore it, and we don't have good peripheral vision. And really important is also, we will look at that in a moment, that at night, the cells that give you peripheral vision are the only cells that work at night. So if this feels too overwhelming or scary, maybe try it with, and this is, you can also do that with sheep occluders or covering your eye with your hand. But basically, you can just do one eye at a time and keep one eye open, and then explore the peripheral vision on that eye that is occluded. And so noticing the peripheral vision in that eye and then switching to the other eye, of course, right? So even if you don't have amblyopia or one eye is weaker, this is a really good practice for everyone to do, but make sure you do it with both eyes. And maybe notice how it feels like maybe one eye is more excited about nature than the other eye. Maybe, just really tune in. So don't see this as just a physical, exercise to strengthen the eyes or something like that. It's really, how do you experience the world from the left eye and the right eye? So you can do both of these practices, block the center vision and then block one eye at a time. I didn't make them several separate tips, but it could be separate tips that you do one eye at a time. And just notice again how that feels like. How is the peripheral vision on the eye that's occluded? And how is that eye that is seeing on its own? How does that feel different? Maybe better, maybe worse than looking with both eyes. And this was the aspect I talked about. So when you work on your peripheral vision, your night vision will actually get better because the cells that give us peripheral vision don't see color, they don't see detail, they see movement, and they work really beautifully at night. So when you do that, you will actually improve your night vision. This is a really great way that I see a lot of times with people that have poor night vision. So improving your peripheral vision will actually help you, because at night, guess what? When you want to see a star clearly, during the day, let's say that what would be stars during the day, right? Let's assume, or maybe let's look at, I don't know, spots in the sky in daytime. You would see the spots, let's say there's a bunch of planes, whatever, in the sky. You would see the plane best that you're looking at during the day. At night, when you look at stars, we don't have that central vision. Our cone cells that give us that vision in the fovea, they don't work at night. So at night, you actually see a star better by looking at the star next to it. That because we have to use our peripheral vision. So that's just a little tip that if, in case you don't know that, you might notice that the star that you look at, you don't see as well as the neighboring one. Okay, so next tip. This is a really important one. Something I didn't realize initially, so movement. It doesn't matter what you do. If you move forward, backwards, side to side, everything always moves opposite to your own movement. And of course, you could say, well, duh, I'm the one moving, I'm the one walking. But it feels to you like, imagine like a dolly in Hollywood or something, like as if the world is moving and you're standing still. And the more you feel this, the more relaxed your eyes will be. The poorer your vision, the more likely you will be holding on. You want things to be static. You avoid movement. Sometimes that could be connected to nausea or vertigo. Obviously, this is not medical advice here. But being able to notice movement, and here's a little video of me walking through the forest. This is in Hamburg in Germany. There's a little bit of crunching sound here. But notice how the trees seem to be moving backwards as I'm moving forward, or when I go to the side. See, they go to the right, but I'm moving to the left. So I hope you get that idea that everything seems to be moving. And when you look down at your feet, you will see that the ground seems to be moving opposite. So it's not like you think about the whole time, but just become aware of how that feels like, that idea that everything always moves oppositionally to your own movements. All right, next one, tromboning. We call that, you could think about near far vision. Again, I don't want you to do it in a mechanical way, more like an interesting kind of like, oh, this is so interesting. So in this case, I picked a blossom from this tree, and in this particular practice, I basically have so if you're nearsighted, you would always start with something in your hand, something close up, and then maybe have something further away. If you're farsighted, you would always start with a distant object, but the practice is the same. You can do it with both eyes together. You can also cover one eye and do it with one eye at a time, but have fun with this. So don't see this as just an exercise. You can also just jump from near to far. You look at the flower up close. I do have a video here as well. So basically, I'm saying that don't stare at the flower that you hold in your hand. Still move your attention around the little, because it's a pretty big flower. And then you move your attention all the way to arm's length. Then you jump to the distant one. And then you bring it back in. But every time you do this, you move your attention, and I'm doing it a little bit fast here, but you want to move your attention within the one that you're holding in your hand. So maybe you move your attention from far to near. I think I'm just talking here and demonstrating something. So you would do it really slowly, blinking and breathing. And as the object moves in and out of clarity, just imagine that it stays clear. So you're using your imagination and slowly moving it away, moving it in and out. So that's what tromboning is. And again, you can also just hold something in your hand and just move from the hand, from the outreached arm maybe to the distance. But continue to imagine, because you have a memory of where it looked clear, and then you're going into the distance where it is blurry. So the distance could be far away, or it could be clearly far away and blurry up close. But continue to imagine that object clear, blink and breathe, and again, move your attention around that, blossom or leaf, whatever, because remember, even that object you cannot see clearly all at once. So you're moving your attention around, not staring at the whole thing at once. So tromboning, moving your attention in and out, is a really great way to improve your vision. And again, do it without glasses, or if you find it helpful, you can use pinhole glasses for. Next one, scan and count. This is, you don't have to really count, but counting also helps you to not try to see all these at once, right? When you see this fence here in this picture, and obviously in nature, it could be a row of trees, it could be the pavers on the side, or whatever it is, right? Kids always, right? When you were a kid, right? You played, you jumped from paver to paver, or you like, oh, my feet cannot touch they only have to be on the stones. They cannot be, on the tree trunk, whatever. We played all these games. But basically, when you count, you avoid trying to see all of these posts at the same time, because when you're counting, you're literally moving your attention from one to the next. So that's just a simple way of focusing on the one you see best. So shifting is more loosey-goosey. This one would be more like counting. And then also this really works well with similar objects. So again, the posts in this fence, trees, rocks, whatever you have on your walk, wherever you are, right? What you see. Next one, this is the 3D booster. I call it a 3D booster. So you're using your two fingers in line with your nose. I use my index fingers, and I have a little video where you can't really see what I see, obviously. And you have a tree. So you have 3 focal points. You have a near finger, a further away finger, and a tree, or whatever other objects in the distance. It works really nicely with vertical objects like trees. And then you're moving your attention from one finger to, I look at the near finger, the closest one, in this picture, my left one. And then I notice that I see 2 index fingers of my right hand. Sorry, I'm using the finger on my right finger. Sorry. I look at the closest one, and then I see 2 of the others, and I see 2 of the trees in the background. Then I shift my attention to that finger that's further away. And then I see 2 fingers in front and 2 trees. And when I look at the tree, I see 4 fingers. And if you have amblyopia or fusion problems, you might not quite get this, but this is a way to have fun with it. Maybe moving your fingers a little bit in and out, maybe covering one eye and then the other, but you should see double wherever you don't look. So here's a little video of me. Let me see if I can play this video, but I was just basically explaining that you look at one finger, you see 2 of the others, and then you're shifting your attention from finger to tree. So this is a really fun way to improve your 3D vision. You can use that again with any kind of object. So number 10, this is something that Jacob Lieberman kind of created, or that term of an open focus. And now you might be like, well, I'm confused. I thought we see best when we're looking and we don't see as well in the peripheral. The open focus idea is, so let's go back to the one where we did shifting. Your mental focus and your visual focus are connected. So when your mind is engaged in like, oh, I want to see the details of this flower, or I want to count these, rocks, you are mentally focused on this rock, then you mentally focus on the next rock, then you mentally focus on the next rock. So you still see all the others, you still see the riverbed and all these things, but you're mentally focused. Open focus is more that feeling of your eyes are still pointing somewhere. Obviously, your foveas are still pointing to a particular tree, but you're not so much interested in that particular tree. You really want to kind of experience this whole IMAX movie theater panoramic view. So that doesn't mean that you're zoning out or that you're daydreaming or that you're not focusing so much, but you have more of that spatial experience versus particularly being interested in one of these trees in this picture, right? You see more the forest in this case, then, oh, there's a tree. Like the opposite would be, like, say you're on a scavenger hunt, right? And you have to look for arrows that people put on trees. Then you would be like, okay, you scan these really quickly and you're like, where is the tree with the arrow on it? that is different. Open focus is more that kind of feeling of that kind of wide giraffe-like, you know, long neck. I see everything. But vision, clear vision doesn't work that way. This is more like a spatial experience. So I hope that makes total sense. So you're not mentally attracted to a particular tree. You're kind of noticing this whole world. This is a really great time to also notice that oppositional movement as you're walking around. And then lastly, you know, we rest our legs, right? When we go on a longer hike, we might sit down and rest our legs and our feet. And just like that, you know, find some time. Maybe you have to do a picnic. Find some time to give your eyes a little break. Obviously, you can combine that with sunning, but hopefully you already gotten a lot of natural light during your walk if you don't wear sunglasses. But resting your eyes is just a really great way to kind of reflect, rest your eyes, and bring up all these beautiful things that you saw on your walk, you know, maybe some favorite memories with friends. This is a really great time to just, you know, bring yourself back to the hike that you just experienced and feeling really good and letting your eyes rest a little bit. All right, so that is basically the end of my presentation. And now I will look, I have to bring up my YouTube again and see if there's any questions about any of the things I was sharing. And if not, then we can move forward. I don't see any questions right now on YouTube. Let me refresh my browser. And see if there's any questions. I don't see any. So if you watch this later on YouTube and you have questions, then please put in the comments and I will be happy to answer any of your questions. And otherwise, I see you next week on YouTube for Clear Vision Wednesday. All right, you guys.